I don't know.
Well, the Department of Public Safety now confirms there were some shots fired at law enforcement officers near the 5th Precinct. The good news, no one was hurt. So we'll see if we can rehook and connect with some of our guys to get you through that. And there's this other big news on a national scale. Obviously, Minneapolis is the epicenter of all the anxiety following the murder of Mr. Floyd. But again, it's happening in all these different cities, and I think this kind of speaks to what's going on.
It does. The Pentagon is taking the rare step of putting military police on alert to come here to Minneapolis. So that is really interesting.
It is, and if that sounds extreme, ladies and gentlemen, when you understand what might happen tomorrow, it might sound maybe logical to you. Pat, do you want to speak to this with the Pentagon putting military police on alert, and who are they and where would they come from?
Yes, I do. We've been talking to some Republican officials tonight who have been in contact with the White House. They tell us that President Trump has been monitoring the situation here in Minneapolis, all of the conflagration, the fires, the chaos, and the out of control, it appears, a lot of the chaos that's happening, the violence in Minneapolis. So it appears now, we can confirm, the Associated Press is reporting that the Pentagon is taking that step of activating military police to come to Minneapolis to try to restore order. Now, I have reached out to the governor's office to ask for a comment on this. We don't know if the governor's office is involved in this, but I do know that there are high-level politicians here in Minnesota who have been in contact with the White House about this. Now, President Trump famously tweeted last night a very controversial tweet about how Minneapolis was having so much violence, and he said that he was prepared to take control of Minneapolis, in the president's words, and if the looting starts, the shooting starts, something that he was criticized heavily for suggesting that we would shoot looters here in Minneapolis. And he had a press conference today, and everybody wanted to ask him about it. It was a press conference, however, on China, and he took no questions, talking about China and COVID and the WHO. But the bottom line here is that the president is very concerned, is what I'm being told. The president is very concerned about what's happening in Minneapolis. He has ordered the Pentagon to activate military police to come to Minneapolis to help restore order. So that is a level of police and law enforcement that we have not seen here in Minneapolis in all of my years.
Yeah, Pat, I know you said that the president didn't talk about this at the press conference. He was talking about China, but I could have sworn I saw a tweet from him explaining himself when he said that, and he said he was trying to say that the looting leads to shooting.
Yes, that's how the president tried to explain it. This is after Twitter placed a warning label on his tweet that the looting starts and the shooting starts. They said that it glorified violence, and that particular phrase is a well-known phrase in racial history.
Yes.
It's considered racist, comes from the 1960s from the South during the Civil Rights movement. And so he was trying to explain that. He did not allow any questions at his press conference today, so we don't know exactly how he felt. But yes, you're right. That is how he explained it.
Pat, hold that thought, because I want to try to advance this as I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't want to keep hashing the president's tweets from last night. I have some questions moving forward for you, but we just want to let people know a lot of the video that they're seeing is stuff that was all shot tonight, Friday evening in Minneapolis. There's an 8 o'clock curfew. It goes until 6 o'clock. We've had some gunshots fired at the 5th Precinct. Everything you're seeing is fires from tonight, or what I guess you would call unlawful gatherings or civil disobedience, however you want to frame it, as we do that. So,
and also
Sure.
The Department of Public Safety put out a tweet that's saying that law enforcement officers have arrested several people who ignored the dispersal orders, and they didn't leave the area
Well,
around
yeah,
the 5th.
I wish we had a firmer
Amelia,
number
let's
on
talk
that.
about that for a little bit. And
But no,
Frank,
Pat,
that,
can we talk about this police thing and the help and what this means first? Because,
Of course.
last night at 1:30 in the morning, I'm listening to a press conference from the mayor, and he immediately, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, says, we need help. And then today I heard a press conference from Melvin Carter at 2 o'clock, and he says, we needed help, and we need help. It sounds like this is help. I mean, can you get over the political hurdle of the president wants to provide you help? Because tomorrow we could have anywhere between 10 and 50,000 people here. And frankly, I think when I just talked to the Assistant Chief Tyner and I said, why aren't you getting to fires on time? He said, we had delay getting assistance from the Guard earlier in the evening. Is there any debate any longer that we need help?
Well, I think there is. Frank, actually. The question is, and it's a really good question that you're asking, if we cannot contain the violence with the National Guard, with the State Patrol, with all the local police and the mutual aid from all of the police departments around the state, and this is the great question that we have tonight, then how do we stop the violence? The question is President Trump calling for the military police, asking the Pentagon to activate military police to come to Minnesota with the cooperation of the governor, or because he thinks that's what's needed, even if the governor he has not consulted? We don't have an answer to that. I have reached out to the governor's office to ask. But, of course, Frank, that is the question. If we can't control it with what we have, what's next? Or what's the next level? Why haven't we arrested people who have defied the curfew that was imposed in the Twin Cities? So those are the questions that I think need answers from, and a lot of people are asking them.
Well, we did have, like I said, we did have arrests, but we don't know the numbers yet either. And we don't know why they didn't enforce it at 8 o'clock. There were crowds all around.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I'm looking at the video, this great video that we're showing, and there are thousands of people. There are thousands of people out there. So if people are arrested, we don't know about that. We don't know that there are buses lined up to put people who are detained into the buses and take them away, because we don't see that.
Now,
all
we
we
actually,
see is
Pat,
thousands of people.
we did see a bus. Mike Max was over by the 5th Precinct, and that was where about 350 National Guard troops came in.
Sure.
And then there was a bus that did pull up.
But we don't know how many.
But we don't know, if they're in there or if they...
What I do know
bet.
is the Assistant Chief of Minneapolis says we couldn't go to fires because the areas weren't secured. And, last night one of the big deals was we're going to bring in the Guard so we can secure and at least get fire equipment in there. And he flat out said, there's a delay getting help. We had problems earlier in the evening, and
that's heartbreaking.
And that's when it leads to Trayvon Ellis. I mean, telling us that he's extraordinarily disappointed because he had to be put on a list for a burning building. Stay with us, Pat, please. We want to get more perspective and bigger picture issues, but we want to go to Mike Max right now, see where he is and what he can share with us this evening at 12:26. Maxie.
Yeah.